Hello, this is Krista Parker from Cohort 16. This is a 5-minute proposal presentation on the dissertation topic, Experiences that Influence Retention of African American Male Student Athletes in a Non-Public High School. The purpose of this study is to identify experiences that can be addressed in order to retain male student athletes of color who are involved in varsity athletics during the high school years at a private school and actually enrolled in the private school during grades 9 through 12 from a public school. Much research has been conducted on the difficulties associated with school transition during adolescence, specifically impacting academic motivation and the emotional wellness of teenagers. And also research has looked at the experiences of African American students in predominantly white schools. Research has examined PWI universities as well as secondary schools, including independent, boarding, and public schools. What seems to be missing in the literature is research examining the retention of high school African American male student athletes that actually transition from public schools to private schools during those grades that have been identified as high school. So the goal of the dissertation in terms of school improvement would be to gain a better understanding of the transition from public school to private school of African American male student athletes, the ability to inform schools and administrators about the challenges expressed by some minority students. And then in the end, I would hope that the schools would be able to design and implement programs that actually assist with the transition from public to private schools. Currently, 3 questions will be examined through this qualitative study. The first one, what are the experiences of African American male student athletes transitioning from a public school to a private school? What experiences may actually influence the retention of African American male student athletes at private high schools? And lastly, does the support staff play a role in assisting retention of African American male high school student athletes enrolled in private schools? In terms of the literature review, as the study focuses on private schools, the first thing to consider is why do families actually select private schools? And then more importantly, once they enroll, what do studies say about retention and attrition of students? Specifically examining private schools and examining research looking at school transition. Another section of the literature review is around African American students enrolled in predominantly white schools, both secondary and post-secondary, examining the research around racial identity, as well as any gender differences reported between male and female African American students, since this dissertation focuses on males. As the study focuses on student athletes, a review of the literature on the role of athletics is necessary. Research on participation in athletics during younger years, and in addition, looking at the research that has been done on the retention of college student athletes. The literature review also covers the theoretical framework that will be used for this study, Schlossberg's transitional theory, and the 4 S's associated with that theory. The study conducted will use a basic qualitative inquiry design where the researcher is looking to the informants to explain perceptions and experiences. The sample will be purposeful sample where criteria must be met in order to participate in the study. Participants must self-identify as male and African American, as well as having participated in varsity athletics while in high school, and they had to have transitioned to private school from public school during their high school years. Data collection will involve interviews using a semi-structured protocol where all the participants will be asked the same initial questions. Additional off-script questions can be asked for elaboration and clarification. The number of participants will be approximately 20 or until the researcher has reached saturation. The researcher will serve as the interviewer. Notes will be taken by the researcher during the interview. Additionally, the interviews will be recorded and later transcribed by the researcher. In terms of the data analysis plan, the interviews will be recorded and stored as M4A files using Dropbox. The interviews will be transcribed, and as qualitative data is described as rich and thick, a qualitative computer analysis program will be used to help with coding. Miriam recommends researchers using open coding and then following up with axial coding to identify common trends or phrases or words. The last 2 slides are references that were used for this presentation.